Hey friends, welcome back to the YouTube channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Oleg and this is Mr. Bond. We love to talk about watches. In today's video, we're going to review Straking Diver Watch. This one comes from AliExpress. Straking is a Chinese brand. They're kind of a sister brand to brands like Pagani Design, to brands like Guanshin and Parnis. They're all, in my mind, in about similar category. And what makes this watch special, it's an homage to both Rolex Submariner and Omega Seamaster. It also has a Seiko NH35 movement and 100 meters of water resistance. Currently the watch is on sale for $60. I will leave a link in the description below where I got mine. So is it any good? Well, let's get into it. Let's begin with the size of the watch. It has a case diameter of 40 millimeters, so from this point to this point, but excluding the crown and the crown guards. It's 48 millimeters from one lug to another, from this point to this point. It has a lug width of 20 millimeters, and the bracelet doesn't taper, so it's 20 millimeters all across. And the watch is 13.9, almost 14 millimeters thick. Here it is on my 7.5 inches or just under 20 centimeters wrist. For the most part, I really like the size of this watch. The only negative that I see with the fit is the thickness. 14 millimeters is a little bit on the thicker side. It's not ginormous. It doesn't sit on your wrist too tall. However, you will still notice the thickness. The lug to lug distance, 48 millimeters, is fairly short. Plus it has these first female links. So this watch would fit well on people with smaller wrists. I'd say if you have wrist under 6.5 inches, this watch will still look pretty good. A lot of the time, the problem with cheap watches is that they're just too light. Not a problem with this watch. 143 grams is how much it weighs, sized for my size of a wrist. I think that's an excellent weight for any sports watch. As it is customary by now, here's the watch next to a Seiko SKX for a quick size comparison. The two watches are very similar in size. The SKX is 42 millimeters, the Straking is 40 millimeters. They do look very similar, and I think they actually have identical lug to lug distance. And it's a similar story with the thickness. Straking is a little bit thicker, but overall the two watches would wear very similarly. A stainless steel case and bracelet, satin finish on top of the lugs, polished finish on the sides of the case, no beveling, no rounded off edges. Overall, the transitions between polished and brushed finish are okay. They're not outstanding, but they're not horrible. It's exactly what you would expect from a $60 watch. Very similar to an Invicta finish. Screw down crown at the 3 o'clock position, signed with the Straking logo. Of course, the watch is an homage to Rolex Submariner in terms of the case. The thread and knurling on the crown are okay. Easy to operate, the crown is big enough, so easy to grip. It has a 120 click unidirectional diver style bezel with the aluminum bezel insert. The bezel insert is a little bit too shiny for my preference. I wish it had a little bit more of a matted look, a bit more muted. Bezel action. It's tinny, it doesn't sound very confident, but on the plus side, it's precise and no back play. So once it snaps into place, that's it. Very little back play. The finish on this coin edge bezel is polished, plays with the light fairly well. I'm not a huge fan of that look. It's a little bit too shiny for me, paired with this shiny bezel insert. I think it's just a little bit too much, but to each their own. I think some of you guys will like how this watch plays with the light. No sapphire crystal on this watch, it's a mineral crystal. I think people are kind of getting obsessed with having sapphire crystals on their watches. For the most part, mineral crystals are not bad. In my opinion, it is unacceptable for a watch over, let's say, $500 to have a mineral crystal. You would expect sapphire. But watches for around 100, 200 bucks, mineral crystal is acceptable if the money savings from a mineral crystal have gone to the better movement and better finishes on the watch. It has a date functionality at the 3 o'clock position. That's where you will find that Cyclops. The magnification is not crazy. I think it's probably a time and a half. It's not your usual 2.5 times like what you would find in a Rolex. However, it is still useful. It does make reading the date just a little bit easier. The watch has a screw down case back it's a display case back showing off that movement. The movement is not particularly beautiful movement to look at, but it's a great movement, especially for a watch in this price category. So the watch is powered by the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. It has 24 joules, beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour, has 41 hours of power reserve, and generally speaking, it's a very reliable, solid movement that will beat for years, and the servicing on the movement is very cheap if you decide to service your $60 watch. As I mentioned before, the watch has a stainless steel bracelet. The bracelet is alright. It's not great. Hollow end links, solid links, push style pin system, just a pressed metal clasp. But there are a few positives that I have for this bracelet. Number one, 4 micro adjustments. That's always good to see. And number two, this first female link. It doesn't have the first protruding link like a lot of other Rolex Submariner Homage watches would. This makes the watch wear a lot better, especially for people with smaller wrists. So well done on that design feature. The middle link is polished and the outer edges are brushed. However, the polishing and the brushing on this bracelet, below average. Don't expect too much from this bracelet if you do end up buying one of these watches. So why would anyone buy this watch? I think there are 2 reasons. Number one, the movement. Seiko NH35 for $60, that's a pretty good deal. Number two, the look and the design of this watch. As I mentioned before, it does pay homage to a Rolex Submariner with the case, the crown, the bracelet, the bezel. However, the dial pays homage to a different legendary diver watch, Omega Seamaster. The wavy pattern on the dial, the set of hands, even the applied hour marks all pay homage to Omega Seamaster. It's a weird design hybrid of Rolex Submariner and Omega Seamaster. Even the dial is the hybrid of the 2 styles. For instance, the date and the cyclops on the date are a copy of Rolex Submariner. However, the rest of the dial is a copy of Omega Seamaster. The lume on the watch, not impressive. From my experience, the lume on these affordable diver watches is below average. This watch is no exception. I think overall it's pretty good for watches in this price category. However, you can see some spots being missing, especially on the set of hands. It's not evenly applied and certainly could use more layers. A couple of other things that I should mention about the watch. Number one, it only has 100 meters of water resistance. It doesn't have 200 meters like the Pagani design or the Invicta Pro Diver. Number two, this bezel is fairly easy to scratch. As you can see, there is a small scratch by the 40-minute mark. I didn't wear this watch all that much, but I managed to scratch it. So why would you buy this over, let's say, an Invicta? Both watches have mineral crystals, both watches have Seiko NH35 movements, and both watches are Rolex Submariner homages. I think it all comes down to 2 things. Number one, the design of this watch. It is a Rolex Submariner homage, but it's also an Omega Seamaster homage. And number two, it's not an Invicta. That's the review of Straking Diver Watch. Surprisingly, in this price category, there are a few different watches with very similar specs that are competing with this one. So you have the Pagani Designs Diver, has similar specs, but also has a Sapphire Crystal. You also have Invicta Pro Diver, actually has very similar specs to this watch, but it does have 200 meters of water resistance, and it comes from Invicta, arguably a much better brand. So why would anyone pick this one up? As I mentioned earlier, it all probably comes down to design. If you like this design, if you like the wavy pattern on the dial, if you like the combination of the Seamaster and Submariner, this one is pretty good. I don't know how long it will last, probably the movement will outlast the watch, but as a beater watch for $60, I think it's pretty good, just don't expect too much. I appreciate you watching this video until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, we release new videos every week, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this Straking Diver. Do you have any experience with one? Are you picking one up? Are you letting this one go? Leave all those thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. By the way, today on my wrist, I'm wearing my Yamaha GMT. I haven't done a review of this watch yet. I did an Instagram unboxing video. I will leave a link to that unboxing video in the description below. The full review is coming soon to YouTube. Leave any questions that you might have about this watch. I'll try to answer them when I do the full review. There are a couple of extra links in the description of this video. The first link is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. The second link is a link to bondnativstraps.com. If you're looking for a great quality native strap and want to support this YouTube channel at the same time, getting one of these native straps is a great way to do so. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're staying safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.